Hello, No Problem Parents. Welcome to a very special episode of the No Problem Parenting Podcast. This is episode 199. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I'm Jaci Finneman, your parenting advocate, and this Sunday, November 26, 2023, marks a monumental celebration. It is the 10th anniversary of Hello World and No Problem Parenting. A decade, you guys, a decade of being able to empower parents, build connections, and foster a community of support. I am practicing what I preach today, and that is to slow down, take a pause, and to celebrate the small wins and the big wins unapologetically, excitedly, and with so much gratitude. And I find that the timing of this episode is like a God wink. How cool is it that the episode is airing on Thanksgiving Day in the US? And Thanksgiving Day is all about being thankful and expressing gratitude and really reflecting on and enjoying the journey. You know, in 2012, I was at a crossroads. I was working as a mental health practitioner and a self-managed teams coordinator for a nonprofit that had become my second family. I was supporting over 80 therapists and counselors in a 32-county radius of Minnesota. I was driving up to 5,000 miles a month to meet with our self-managed teams, to meet with the contractors of our family-based, our school-based, and our early childhood mental health programs. I was hiring and terminating and doing a host of other administrative tasks, including paperwork compliance and performance reviews. And you know, I was really grateful for the trust of my director to put me in such a position. However, the role wasn't feeding me. And so in 2012, I was at a crossroads. In fact, I actually felt like I was just on this hamster wheel of going through the motions to adhere to compliance and regulations and things instead of really being able to do what I loved, which was to serve parents, to help them help their kids. You can listen to episode 32 about my decision to leave the role and the agency and how my, at the time, 8-year-old son had innocently made clear to me that I was being called to stay true to my mission and my passion of supporting kids by supporting their parents. But today, as I reflect back on 2013, when I made that decision to start my company, I'm really going to celebrate this past 10 years and all the gratitude that I have for everybody that really supported me in starting my own company, and then all the impact that my little company has made to date for kids and families. And I'm going to share the top 10 most listened to podcasts to date. And I'm going to close up with a couple of generous offers from 2 resources that I suggest to a lot of parents these days. Parents who have tried numerous parenting programs, therapies, or other resources, but whose children, despite everything they've tried, are still struggling. So I'm going to share a couple of key resources that I suggest to parents who are just feeling like nothing's working. So grab your favorite beverage, put your earbuds in, head out for your walk, turn me up on your smart speaker as you're prepping your Thanksgiving dinner or tidying up the house before guests arrive. And then be sure to check out the show notes of this episode for the links to the resources and the special No Problem Parent discounts that are going to be available to you today through Cyber Monday of 2023. Hey there, parents. Thanks for listening to the No Problem Parenting Podcast. Are you ready to become the confident leader your kids crave you to be? Are you losing your crap on your kids, yelling, giving in, and exhausted at the end of every day? You are already a good parent, and I'm sure you've sought advice from friends or family. You've read books on your child's specific behavior problem. Maybe you've even signed them up to see the school counselor or an outpatient therapist. But despite your efforts to find the right person or thing that will help, your family is still struggling. You're tired of pretending everything's okay. Well, if your confidence is shot and you feel like you're failing your kids, but you also don't have a ton of time or money, register to become a No Problem Parent for just $50. It comes with an app so you can listen to the tips and tools just like you're listening to this podcast. You can start building confidence in your parenting immediately, whether your child is a toddler or all grown up and still living in your house. Don't make this parenting gig harder than it needs to be. Become a No Problem Parent today. All right, let's get right into it on Thanksgiving Day. We'll start with all of the gratitude that I have for some really key players in my entrepreneurship journey. My first mentors, Elizabeth and her family. If you've seen me present, if you've listened. I think I've shared this story on a couple of different episodes, especially the episodes on reactive attachment disorder. But I want to thank Elizabeth, not her real name, and her family, her parents and her siblings, who inadvertently sent me on this like mental health journey and really were the catalyst for introducing me to mental health. And that, which also led me to working for the nonprofit agency as a mental health practitioner and coordinator for a nonprofit. I was at that agency for 20 years, and that really changed my path from special ed to mental health. So thank you so much, Elizabeth and fam. You know who you are. I also want to thank my incredible colleagues that I worked with at the counseling agency. Being a part of that team and that family, just learning so much from all of you and from our contracts, from our community, the social workers, the supervisors, and all the collaborators that partnered with us at the agency. Everyone just taught me so much about leadership, about business, and most importantly, about community and how to serve kids and parents. And so thank you, everyone at Greater Men. And then to the 12 amazing women from my executive peer group back in 2012, again, you know who you are. You all encouraged me and gave me the confidence to become an entrepreneur. Starting my own company was never on my radar, and I really didn't know if I could do it. And now 10 years later, I'm like, heck yeah, I got this. The women in that group really supported and fueled the birth of Hello World. And so I thank you all very, very much. And then also to Down the Road Marketing and Storybeat Creative for helping to birth No Problem Parenting. My company started as Hello World. It still is Hello World. And initially, I was meeting with families directly in their home, much like what I did as a counselor with the nonprofit. But then I just started to realize it was really expensive with insurance not covering my services because I'm not clinical. It was expensive for me to have to charge parents to drive to their home. It was really time consuming as well. And so about 3 years in, I started doing virtual visits with families, which at first felt really impersonal. But then I discovered, oh my gosh, it's so time saving. Parents don't have to find daycare for their kids, and they could log in. If it was a 2-parent home, they can log in from separate locations, and it just really saved on travel cost, time away from work, or time away in the evening when you're already drained after a long day. So that was super awesome. And then a few years into doing virtual visits, I was like, hey, I'm saying some common things to all the parents I coach, whether your kiddo has a mental health diagnosis or they're just doing neurotypical kind of kid behaviors. I am coaching parents on some really key things. And so I began in 2018 to review hundreds of virtual parent coaching sessions with families. And from that, No Problem Parenting was born. And then it was really with the help of Gina from Down the Road Marketing and Britt from Storybeat Creative, who produced the No Problem Parenting training. Those two women really helped me fine tune my message of No Problem Parenting and the 3 steps to No Problem Parenting. So I'm super grateful. That all came out in 2019. We have one-on-one coaching packages where you work with me for a month or 3 months or 5 months. But if you just want to get the gist of what No Problem Parenting is and help shift your mindset and just DIY it, you can get Becoming a No Problem Parent for just $50. There's a link in the show notes for that. And you're going to learn stuff right away from that. Like it's not a sales pitch. I'm always here if you need me, but there's so much that you can do on your own. And so I've wrapped that all into Becoming a No Problem Parent. So it makes it nice and easy for you. And you get to access the videos, the downloadable workbook, everything right from your phone, your laptop, your computer. Like it's all right there for you. And so if you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling really worried or scared about your kids' behavior or your relationship with your kids, No Problem Parenting is going to help you like sooner rather than later. Okay, back to my gratitude. I want to thank you guys, my No Problem parents and the listeners of this show. I mean, you literally rock. You feed me, you fill me up. Your stories, your shares, your connection have been the heartbeat of this community. And I just want to thank you for sharing your challenges, for trusting me with your tough stuff, for sharing your greatest fears, your mistakes, and your epic wins. You are really the heart of No Problem Parenting, and you are the reason I do what I do. And then I want to thank my podcast guests. I have interviewed over 180 guests. Not all their episodes have played quite yet, but we're on episode 199, and a majority of those have been guests on the show. And you've really made this podcast a resource playground of parenting wisdom. So I'm super thankful to all the guests and to the authors of the No Problem Parenting resource books. We have 2 books out in just under a year, and I'm honored to be in partnership with all of my authors. There are 41 authors that I've collaborated with between the 2 books, and many of those authors have also been guests on the podcast. So I'm just super thankful that you've given of your time to share your wisdom and your resources. So thank you to the authors and the podcast guests. And then I also want to give a big shout out to my assistant, Kim. She takes care of a variety of tasks for me for the past year and a half, and she's just been a godsend. She helps post on social media, create the graphics for the podcast, upload the episodes. She is so creative, and I appreciate her support so much. So thank you, Kim. All right, let's dive into the top 10 most listened to and clicked on episodes of the podcast. These are the most listened to since April 2021 when the podcast began. I'll run through these really quick, but we're going to have a list of them in the show notes as well if you want to refer to them later, and then you should be able to just find them in whatever podcast app you're listening to this on. All right, number 10 was episode 133, Trust Your Mama Guilt. This is a 11-year-old Gigi. She's going to share her experience living with a medical condition that would have went undetected if her mom hadn't spoken up. At a normal well child check, just a few days after Gigi had the flu, her mom told the pediatrician that she wanted her daughter to have a blood test due to the fact that she was always thirsty, never full, and losing weight. Little did Mom Jessica know that this request would save her daughter's life. So it's totally okay, parents, if you bring your kiddo to the doctor for some kind of an ailment and the doctor says, oh, it's a growing pain, or they'll grow out of it, or it's fine. It is totally okay to advocate for your kiddo and say, no, there's something wrong. So trust your mama gut. And thank you so much, Gigi, for coming on the show and sharing your experience as an 11-year-old living with type 1 diabetes. All right, coming in at number 9 is actually episode number 2, What is No Problem Parenting? So I'm going to share in that episode what it means to be a no problem parent and how the no problem parenting model was created. I share both the short story and the long story, including how my mom's perspective actually set the foundation as she was a no problem parent herself, only we didn't call it that at the time. So listen into episode number 2 if you want to learn more about no problem parenting and what that all means. All right, coming in at number 8 is episode 164, Preparing for a Successful College Transition with Dale Troy. Dale is going to share with us how to prepare for that successful college transition, whether it's your high school student that's eagerly awaiting the next chapter, or you're a parent seeking guidance for your kiddo because you're kind of nervous about sending them off and you don't really know what you don't know, right? So Dale is going to share practical tips to ensure a smooth and enriching college experiences. And she really gets into the nitty gritty of like even what to bring and how to connect with people and what do you do in your off time when you're not in your classes or studying. Lots of information in that episode, and you can start as early as when your kiddo is in like 9th or 10th grade to start thinking about these things for college and prepping them for college. All right, number 7, coming in at number 7, episode 158, No Bad Kids. Behavior is the window to the brain with Dr. Sarah Cooperis. Neurodevelopment delay, brain development, and behaviors. We talk about all of it and what's chiropractic got to do with it. And so Dr. Sarah is going to share with us. She's actually been on the show a couple of different times, but episode 158, No Bad Kids, Behavior is the Window to the Brain. There is so much correlation between behavior and what's happening with in our brain. So check out episode 158. All right, coming in at number 6, episode 155, The Complex Relationship Between Adult Children and Their Parents, with my guest, Mother Nan Webster. She's going to help us transition our parenting relationship with our kids who are ready to launch into adulthood and become our adult children. We're going to talk about how a parent communicates with their adult children when they won't reply, when your kid just won't respond to you, why relationships can be so complex with our adult kids, and what boundaries look like with our adult children. So Check out episode 155. All right, coming in at number 5 is episode 160. We are created uniquely. What's your human design? And this is with my special guest, Kelly Flood, who's also an author in our second book, No Problem Parenting, Resources and Stories that Create Confidence and Connection. And so Kelly's going to share what is human design, what has been your parenting journey, and how does human design connect to parenting? You guys, it's a super interesting resource and topic, and there's a freebie in there so you can actually enter your information and get your family human design as well as each individual's human design. And it's kind of like personality testing, only all you need to do is enter your name, date of birth, and where you were born. There's no answering any questions, and it just produces this report for you. So super interesting. Check out episode 160. And then coming in at number 4, this one kind of surprised me because we're on episode 199 right now, but number 4 is actually episode 1, introducing me and remembering the pause. And I suppose it makes sense because when you first start listening to an episode, you might want to kind of get to know a little bit about or when you first start listening to a podcast, you want to learn about what the podcast is about or who the podcaster is. So I guess it does make sense. But in this first episode, I do share my own experience as a parent, a little TMI about myself, and I also describe a strategy that I call Remember the Pause. And that is one thing, if you get nothing else from this podcast, if you never become a no problem parent, remembering the pause is something that we all can benefit from. So it's just a quick strategy that takes 6 seconds. And to help you calm yourself before you respond to your kiddo's negative or unwanted behavior. So check out episode number 1, introducing me and remembering the pause. All right, coming in at number 3 is episode 157, Conscious Parenting. Parent without feelings of failure, guilt, and shame with my guest, Tanya Lopez. We're going to talk about unconscious, conscious, and self-conscious parenting and the difference of the 3. And conscious parenting is a hot topic right now. And in fact, we have a guest coming up on the show who's going to talk about collaborative parenting. And that episode is going to focus on our 0 to 5-year-olds. But check out episode 157 with Tanya. Unconscious parenting is when we're unaware. Self-conscious parenting is when we're super aware, and conscious parenting is when we strive to become aware of our past and how it impacts our relationships with our children currently. It's not about being perfect, but it's about being aware of what's not working and taking responsibility for making some changes. All right, guys, so it's a super great episode. Again, lots of information in there. Check out episode 157. Okay, and then finally, drum roll please. This actually warmed my heart. The top 2 episodes most listened to are episodes 4 and 5, and they are the episodes part 1 and part 2 of What is Reactive Attachment Disorder. And I actually got a little bit of goosebumps when I saw that, because when I started Hello World, initially the only families I would see are families who had kids with attachment struggles. In fact, the mission of Hello World is to awaken family attachment. And I have just a huge heart for parents who have kiddos that reject their love and don't trust them and are kind of pushing them. It's like a tug of war, come here, go away. And so I describe in episodes 4 and 5, part 1 and 2, what is reactive attachment disorder. I share how I learned about the diagnosis. You'll hear a little bit about my story of Elizabeth and her family and how that really shifted my career path from serving kiddos with special abilities or special needs to supporting kids with mental health diagnoses and their parents. Now, the episode barely touches on the diagnosis of RAD, and it's definitely a brief introduction of what can happen when infants and toddlers experience early life trauma or separation from their primary caregivers. But if you're a parent who really feels like you've tried everything and your kiddo is still kind of pushing you away and or struggling, having extreme behaviors, and traditional parenting isn't working, you're definitely going to want to listen to episodes 4 and 5, part 1 and 2 of What is Reactive Attachment Disorder. All right, and next I'm going to share a couple of resources, generous offers, generous Cyber Monday deals for you. But before I do that, that does wrap up the top 10 episodes, all of which encompass the 3-step no problem parenting approach of seeking first to understand, preparing for the worst, and changing the conversations with our kids. And I'd like to hear from you. You know, what episode or what topic resonated with you the most, or did you learn something from? And or what topic haven't you heard yet on the show in our 199 episodes that you would like me to address or bring a guest on for? Do you need some tips or tools about a certain behavior? And what do you want to learn more about? Feel free to email me, Jackie@noproblemparents.com. Send me your question. And then again, depending on the podcast app you're listening to, you can leave a comment with your favorite episode or your favorite tip or tool that you've learned since listening to the podcast. All right, just a couple more things before we wrap up today. I wanted to give you just a little bit of a summary of the impact that Hello World and No Problem Parenting has made in the last 10 years. First of all, this podcast is a top 2% podcast. Your comments, your reviews, your shares of the podcast really are helping us to rank, which is helping us to help more families. We love pouring out tips and tools and resources to you, our listeners, and we would just be thrilled if we could get this into a top 0.5% podcast and get in that top, actually I'd like to get in the top 50 of parenting podcasts because there's so many great resources and supports that we're able to offer. So we are a top 2% podcast right now. We are averaging about 20,000 downloads. We have reached more than 3.5 million parents between our posts on social media, our stories, our podcast, and through the one-on-one coaching. We've served over 500 families just via one-on-one coaching. We have 199 episodes of this show and more in queue. Our average range of parents listening is between the ages of 22 and 55. 67% of you are female and 33% of you are male. Our audience is global, with between 65 and 80% listening in the United States at any given time, but we have listeners from all over the country. And actually, we're going to start sharing a little bit more of the countries and the states and places where people are listening to us, just as something fun in 2024 in the podcast episodes. And we're even considering doing daily tips and tools on the podcast. So stay tuned for that. I appreciate the sponsors, especially in this last year, that have supported the No Problem Parenting podcast. They've been advertising with us. They are products or services that I believe in and I've had success with. And so I'd really like to thank Dr. JJ Kelly of drjjkelly.com. I want to thank Kohila Sivas of Learning Success Academy. I want to thank Deerwood Bank and Emily and Jeremy Salzbrun of H&S Heating. You have been very influential in supporting the podcast and the show and helping us to help more families. So thank you very much. If you have a product or a service, if your company shares in our mission of supporting kids by helping their parents, then join us in our mission to enhance the family system and strengthen our communities by promoting family-friendly products and services. We'd love to hear from you and see if we're a good fit to partner with. You can always email me, Jackie@noproblemparents.com, or call direct 320-640-1599. All right, and then we're going to finish up with a couple of generous offers from two companies that I refer to quite frequently. When your kiddos just like nothing seems to be working and you don't know why, and you feel like you've tried all the things and behavior therapy isn't working and traditional parenting skills aren't working, and you're like, okay, what is going on? These two companies are worth checking out. So the first is Symmetry Neural Pathway Training. So neurofeedback helps the brain better regulate, and when the brain functions better, your relationships are better, behaviors are better, life is just brighter. So at Symmetry Neural Pathway Training, you can actually check them out on episode 168. They empower people by providing neurofeedback services and systems to help the brain better regulate. But here's the deal. You, the parent, with the support of Symmetry Neuro's team, are able to help your kiddos right at home. I got goosebumps again. I love bringing these resources and services and products that you can access right from your home, because parents, you guys, we're busy. We got a lot of appointments, and going to appointments can often upset kids even more. So there's no driving to an appointment with this. Everything is sent to you, and your neurofeedback coach is going to guide you every step of the way. And the discount that they're giving, their Cyber Monday special, which you have access to right now whenever you're listening to this show. Of course, if you're catching this after Cyber Monday, then you're going to want to reach out to the company and find out if they have any current offers. But today they're offering thousands off their program. And so check them out. Get the Cyber Monday special early by clicking the link in the show notes. And you can reach out to Diane Costo and her team. Again, episode 168 gives you all the details. And our next really generous offer is with Your Guided Health Journey. The food that you and your kids eat matters, right? However, not all foods are healthy for all individuals. And we all have foods that we're sensitive to, right? So the Food Sensitivity Lab is going to help you figure out if there is a food sensitivity that's causing your child some behavior issues and or you some challenges in your day in and day out energy levels, mood, and behavior. So the food sensitivity lab is sent directly to your home, and your guided health journey, Melissa, is going to walk you through the process. You can listen to her episode 45, to learn more. So the lab assesses you or your child's sensitivity to 190 different foods, which is then going to give you the knowledge of what foods are problematic for you or your child. It's going to create awareness that's going to lead you to making better food choices. And again, it's right from the comfort of your home. Melissa's going to review the results with you to ensure that you understand them and make some recommendations for next steps. You can get her special Cyber Monday deal by clicking the link in the show notes. Melissa is a wealth of information, and both Melissa and Diane, both of these companies were founded based on their own experience with their own children. And I think that's what makes the difference, and that's what sets them apart from other companies, is that both of these mamas had a problem with their child and they were determined to deal with and overcome that problem. And they literally researched and learned how to help their kiddo, and now they want to help you just like they were able to help theirs. So thank you so much, Diane at Symmetry Neuro and Melissa at Your Guided Health Journey, for these offers. Again, links in the show notes. Okay, you guys, as we wrap up, I know this was quick. I had a lot of information and I was determined to keep this episode under 30 minutes, which I think I'm going to be close. But as I wrap up, I just really want to express my deepest gratitude once more. Thank you all for being a part of Hello World and No Problem Parenting's incredible 10-year journey. Stay tuned, stay connected. Join our newsletter, noproblemparents.com. Get yourself signed up. You're going to get the 60 Ways PDF, 60 Ways to Respond to Your Kiddos Without Losing Your Cool, just for signing up for the newsletter. I look forward to welcoming you into the No Problem Parenting community. And remember that on particularly rough days, when you feel like you cannot possibly endure, remember that your track record for getting through those days so far is 100%. And that's pretty darn good. Hugs and high fives, parents. You got this. All right, parents, that's it for today. Make sure you head over to the website, noproblemparents.com. Sign up to get our emails. We're going to be giving away tips, tools, techniques, and resources, updates on podcast episodes, roundtable events, and more. Check out noproblemparents.com. For now, hugs and high fives. You got this.